got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 M's in my bank account.
I posted that reel about a couple of weeks ago and it did very well and got a lot of saves and a lot of shares, which lets me know that you guys want to know how you can use keywords on your site to rank #1 on Google, or at least on the first page of Google, so that way you can start attracting organic traffic to your website without you having to use so many ads or be on social media so much promoting your website or your services or your brands. SEO is your 24-hour salesman. I'm going to show you 8 places to put keywords on your website so you can rank #1 on Google. Hello everyone, my name is Naikuya and I am the founder of The Marketing Profit, which is a Christian-based digital marketing agency focusing on SEO and Pinterest marketing to help you get visibility through the search engines. Now, did you know that Google uses over 200 factors, 200, to actually say if your website is even worth putting on the front page of Google? So if you're not on the first page of Google, basically you're probably not hitting really any of those 200 factors. Now, not saying those 200 factors you have to always implement, because I'm going to show you 8 of those factors that are very important to getting ranked on Google. I help many clients in all different types of e-commerce industries get seen in these search engines so they can attract traffic from Google search into their website and convert those visitors. I don't just walk the walk, I talk the talk too, because I'm actually also ranked for a lot of keywords on the first page of Google. 30% of my new clients come through Google search, and it's because I optimize my website pages to specifically attract those people searching for certain keywords that are looking for a brand like mine to help them with search engine visibility for their products. So for example, I'm going to show you right here on my screen exactly some keywords that I'm ranked #1 for that brings me traffic to my website every single day. So no, I have a podcast. It's a Christian business podcast for female entrepreneurs, and this podcast is called Scriptures, Stories, and Strategies, and it's basically a podcast where I take scriptures and stories from the Bible and transform them into business strategies. So I get a lot of podcast guest pitches straight from Google search engines, and I get a lot of downloads and listens straight from the Google search engines because I optimize that certain web page of my podcast to attract certain people from the search engine. So, for example, if somebody were to type in Christian business podcast for female entrepreneurs and they hit enter, I show up on the first page of Google, and I'm actually the second search result. And if you see here, at about 18.9 million results, I'm ranked #2. And it's because I optimize this page to rank for #1 on Google with keywords in 8 different places, which I'm going to show you again too. So let's say I type in blogger, influencer, rate sheet. As you can see, I'm on the second page of Google for blogger, influencer, rate sheet, and those keywords actually vary. So if you type in influencer rate sheet, if you type in blogger rate sheet, I still show up on the first page of Google, and I'm #2. And this is a blog post, and this blog post actually has a email funnel set up for it. So in order to get free templates from me, my email address, you have to sign up for my email list, and I will send you free templates. And I get so many email list signups just from being on the second position of Google for this blog post. Another example. So I also do Pinterest marketing. So we do Pinterest management and marketing for Christian-based e-commerce brands or Christian creatives. And this is my page here. So if someone were to go back to search and type in Pinterest management for e-commerce brands, and they hit enter, I show up on the first page of Google, and right here you can see it says hire us for Pinterest management, themarketingprofit.com, which is my website, and I'm right above my actual competitor, which is Simple Pen Media. They're an amazing Pinterest management company, by the way. I love the owner of that company, but I beat her out in search engines at #1. So I'm going to teach you how to do this for your website, whether you're a service-based brand or whether you're a blogger or whether you sell products. I'm going to show you how to get visible in the search engines by putting your keywords in these 8 different spots. So I think I showed a lot of social proof of I know what I'm talking about when it comes to SEO and keyword placement. So the first place you want to put keywords on a web page on your site to get that web page ranked number 1 on Google, or at least on the first page, is your page title. Page title literally tells Google search crawlers what your page is going to be about. Your page title is also the H1 tag on your website. And if you don't know what H1 tag is, it's basically the subheadings for body copy on your text. The higher the heading, the more important that text is to Google search engines. So your page title is usually an H1 being the most important copy on your web page, and that tells Google what that page is going to be about. So hopefully that makes sense. So Google has something called search bots or spiders, and basically what happens is somebody types in a search query on Google. What Google does is it scans all the websites on the World Wide Web that has anything to do with those keywords. Then it scans those pages really quick and see what web pages actually have the most valuable information, has the keywords in the right spots, and so forth. So basically it's looking at all those 200 factors, then it's returning back to that user the best possible search results starting from page 1. And if you land on page 1, that means you did a good job with optimizing that page. So I'm going to go over back to my screen and I'm going to show you guys exactly where that page title is and where to put your keywords. Okay, so we are now in the back end of my website, and as you can see, so for WordPress, your page title or whatever you name your page title is going to be your H1 title tag. So I did my keyword research. If you want to learn how to do keyword research, by the way, I'm going to have a whole separate video on how to choose the right keywords, but for right now, let's just say I already did that keyword research, and I did, and this is why I picked these keywords, because I knew it had a high search volume and low competition. So my keywords were Christian business podcast for female entrepreneurs. Now this is more of a key phrase. A key phrase is anything with 3 or more words, most likely 3 to 6, which is a perfect little sweet spot. When you have long key phrases, this is actually easier to rank on Google because you're more niche. So you know for a fact if somebody is searching this, they're literally looking for you, and that makes basically your conversion goal for that website actually work. So if you scroll down, so in WordPress, I actually use the plugin Yoast SEO. If you're not using WordPress, if you have like Shopify or Wix, there still is an SEO meta description placement on the back end of your website for each page that you can do the edits. So down here, as you can see, my focus keyword I have set for this page is Christian Business Podcast. And then if you scroll down, so this is the SEO title, the page title. So the page title is Christian Business Podcast for Female Entrepreneurs, but my SEO title, which shows in search engines, is going to be Christian Business Podcast for Female Entrepreneurs. So I keep my SEO title and my page title the same. So the second place you want to place keywords on your webpage to rank number 1 on Google is going to be your URL slug. So your URL slug is basically that text that comes after that /. So if my website is www.themarketingprofit.com/ Pinterest-management-services, that Pinterest-management-services is going to be my URL slug. And you want to make sure you are placing keywords right there. The reason for this is because actually before these spiders from Google crawl your actual page title to understand what your page is about, it's first going to read your URL slug. So you have your URL slug, it reads first, so it's going to hit that first, and then it's going to match whatever those keywords in your URL slug to the page title. And if those two already align, you're already going to be in good standing with the Google search bots in order for them to value your web page to send it back to the person who made the original search. So let me show you what the URL slug for my website here was for the Christian Business Podcast. So we're going to hop back over to here real quick. Okay, so right here underneath my SEO title is my URL slug. And so as you can see, my URL slug is actually verbatim of my page title and my focus keyword and my SEO title. Now, I do want to say you don't have to have everything verbatim. So what I could have actually done, I could have kept this Christian-business-podcast and not have this extra part here, and still would have been pretty good for Google to return my webpage back to search results. You also don't have to have like the word for in there. So any like and, to, for, like any prepositions or anything like that, you actually don't need to have in your URL slug. You always want your URL slug to be short. So 3 to 4 words are key, up to 6 words. That's it. Anything more than that, it's just gonna be too much. Also, make sure that you're separating each keyword with a hyphen. That is very important. Number 3 is your meta description. So you want to make sure keywords are also reflected in your meta description. Your meta description is basically that text that summarizes what that page is about on the search engine side. So if somebody were to type in Christian Business Podcast for female entrepreneurs, that text that's underneath the actual page title and that page title that's underneath the URL link, that meta description is basically telling somebody what my page is going to be about before you click over onto my page. So it's kind of like the last area you have to basically convince somebody to come over to your website. So just make sure whatever keywords you set in that page title and that URL slug are also reflected in the meta description. And keep in mind, at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're creating web pages for the users and second for the search engine. So whatever you put in your meta description, make sure it makes sense. You don't want to sound robotic. You do not want to keyword stuff. When I say keyword stuff, you don't want to just keep putting your keywords like verbatim where it doesn't make sense, where it sounds like a robot, doesn't sound personable. You want to create the web page for the user. So let me show you what my meta description for this page looks like. Okay, so down here, here's the meta description I have set for my page. So as you can see, it says Scripture, Stories, and Strategies is a Christian business podcast for female entrepreneurs seeking to infuse scriptures within their business. So a key with your meta description is you want to make sure that you have your keywords in the first sentence of your meta description closer to the left. The closer to the left it is, the more basically hierarchy of that keyword that Google recognizes. And just make sure it makes sense to the user. So as you can tell, I didn't really keyword stuff here. I did use the keywords verbatim, but it makes sense to the user and it makes sense to Google. Number 4 is that web page's image alt text. So any images you have on your website and any image you have as the featured post need to have alt text attached to it if it makes sense. If the images on your site are purely decorative and they don't actually mean anything to the user, then you don't have to worry about putting keywords there. But if your images make sense with that web page, you need to make sure you have keywords in your image alt text. Now, alt text is basically a body copy for somebody who maybe can't see your image and they have to scroll over your image to actually hear what the text is about. So be mindful, honestly, when you're using keywords, don't just put keywords on an image just so you can try to rank. Make sure the keywords on that image make sense, because at the end of the day, if somebody can't physically see your image, you want to make sure that they're clicking on the right image or the right source and listening to what that image is actually about. So you don't want to don't steer anybody wrong, okay? Don't do that. And I'll just put a screenshot right here. In my featured image, I made sure that I have the alt text on the back end. That's Christian Business Podcast for Female Entrepreneur. And also, as you can see, I'll put it right here. If you scroll down, all the images here on my site all have the image alt text Christian Business Podcast, and some of them have Christian Business Podcast for Female Entrepreneurs. Some of them have Female Entrepreneur Christians. So I make sure that I use a variable of these keywords so it's not keyword stuffing, and that way if anybody is searching those particular keywords in any order, I still pop up in search results. So number 5 is your body text. So your body copy or your body text is basically the text that is actually on the front end of your page. This is what users actually see on the front end. So let me show you some examples on my page of my Christian Business Podcast page on where I put certain keywords on the body copy of my text. So this is the homepage of my site if somebody were to go to my podcast page on my website. And as you scroll down, I want you to notice the first thing that you see is that the second text that is in this body copy are my keywords, which are Christian Business Podcast for female entrepreneurs. I have it listed there, and I actually have this set as an H2 title tag. I'm sorry, I think this is actually an H3 title tag. So I give it basically meaning to Google Spider saying that this keyword on my actual front end of my website has some importance over any of the other body copy text. If you scroll down, I also listed again Christian female entrepreneur. So you see it right here. Another again, Christian female entrepreneur, Christian entrepreneur community. If you scroll down here, some of the guests that I actually had on my podcast use the word Christian in their title of their job. So Christian influencer, Christian business coach, Christian life coach, Christian health and wellness coach. So, and then I say you want to be a next. And then I say, want to be our next guest. And once again, I list my keywords: a Christian business podcast for female entrepreneurs, Christian business advice. So as you can see, as you're scrolling down through my page, this is what Google search spiders are doing. They're scrolling down through the page to see how many keywords are relevant to the keywords that you had set and optimized for the page on the back end, so off-page SEO, that match the front end, that closely match what that person actually searched as their search query. So when it comes to your body copy, you're probably wondering, okay, well, Nikeia, how many keywords do I need to have per the total words on my actual webpage? So that's actually called keyword density, and keyword density is the amount of keywords you have on your website divided by the total amount of body copy you have on your site. Now, a good rule of thumb is 2%. Now, it's not guaranteed if you use 2% keyword density that you're going to be on the first page of Google, but it's just a good rule of thumb. So that 2% basically means if you have 1,000 words in total on that web page, then 20 of those words need to be your key. Number 6 is header tags. I actually went over header tags earlier in this video, but basically your H1, H2, H3 header tags are very, very important to place keywords in, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned before, spider crawlers from Google use these header tags to basically understand the value of each keyword on your page and understand what that page is about. So the H1 title tag is usually always your page title. Then your H2 title tags are usually the subjects of your whole page. And then your H3 title tags usually help just niche down whatever that second subject header is about. So it basically makes your web page formatted very easily, and a good format and easy to read web page is actually a Google ranking factor. So it would just help you out in the long run. So make sure you have your keywords as header tags. Now, if you don't know how to actually set header tags, it's pretty simple. I'll show you real quick on my computer. Okay, so I'm on the back end of my website now, and basically if I want to make something a certain header tag and not a paragraph text, now this is for WordPress, but it's going to work the same honestly with whatever website builder you're using. But so for example, right now, scriptures, stories, and strategies, if you look over here on my dashboard here, you'll see that I already have it set as a title tag. And if you want to know exactly what title tag this is set to, I have it set to an H2. Now, if I didn't want this to be a title and I wanted to make it just regular text, I would click down on here and I would click on this P button here, and that stands for paragraph text, basically meaning it's just regular body copy text. There's really no extra emphasis on the text of paragraph text, I guess you can say. So that's how you change your text from header to paragraph text. Number 7 is having keywords in your links. So link building structure is actually a huge ranking factor for Google. When I say linking structure, I'm talking about 3 things. I'm talking about inbound links, outbound links, and backlinks. Backlinks are basically links from other websites that are linking back to yours. Sometimes you don't have control over who's linking back to your website, but that's a story for another video. Now, inbound links are links that are going to send people to other pages on your website. So you're keeping them inside your space on the web. Outbound links are website links where you're leading that visitor off of your website, maybe onto maybe a social media channel or a podcast channel, or maybe relevant information where they can find out more about a certain topic that doesn't particularly pertain to you. So when you should be having links on every single page of your website. You should definitely have inbound links and outbound links. Inbound links specifically because you want to keep people on your website longer. So point them to other relevant information that has to deal with the page they're on now that they might find actually useful still. On my Christian Business Podcast page for female entrepreneurs, I made sure that I linked to my Apple Podcast. I also made sure I linked to my Instagram. I also linked to the websites that my guests have. Now, a key tip to this is to make sure the hypertext link of your link is actually, now, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Now, the key to link building, when you're using inbound and outbound links, you want to make sure you're using keywords within the, I think it's the href, is it the ahref text or the hypertext, words within the link that you're actually pointing to. I think that's called the hypertext link. So basically, instead of saying learn more here and then attaching a link onto that and leading somebody else to another website or maybe somewhere else on your page, you want to use keywords within that link. So learn more about Christian business advice, and that Christian business advice I might have as a blog post to lead them to my blog post. And it's also something similar to the page that they're on now. So it's going to make sense to the user, and it's also going to make sense to Google, because now you're leading somebody else to another page on your website that's relevant to the page they just left. That's good for SEO. Or if you don't have a relevant page to lead somebody else to, which you should, you can also lead them off of your website to another relevant page. Just make sure the link that you have attached to the words that they click to go off onto that page, so the hypertext link, is using keywords. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did it on my site real quick. So on my page, I have a couple of links. So the first link you'll actually see is The Marketing Profit. So that is the name of my agency. And so let's say if people land on this podcast page from the search engines, they probably aren't going to know that they're probably not going to know that I also have a digital marketing agency that can help them out with visibility if they're a Christian creative or Christian entrepreneur or own a Christian product brand. So I make sure I link to my actual homepage so they can learn more about the person and the brand who created scripture stories and strategies, and then also more about me. So that is considered an inbound link. As you can tell, I didn't say click here, I said The Marketing Profit, and that goes to my homepage, which is optimized for The Marketing Profit. And now if you scroll down, so here's a button text link that I have, and I say listen on Apple Podcasts. So I use the keyword Apple Podcast. So if anybody's typing in Christian Business Podcast on Apple Podcasts, I can technically rank for that because I'm using keywords within a button link that's linking off of my page as an outbound link. So instead of saying click here to listen, I'm saying listen on Apple Podcasts. Here's some more examples down here. So I have outbound links to all of the female entrepreneurs who were guests on my podcast. And now to them, these are going to be considered backlinks because my website is linking people back to their website. So they have backlinks from me. So that's actually good for them because they have backlinks coming from a relevant website that has similar content to what they probably talk about on their website. If you scroll down some more, I also have applied to be a podcast guest. This links to my Acuity scheduler, so technically that's an outbound link, but podcast guest will be like a keyword there. I have a media kit here, which is just a download. And then as you can see, I have more links here. So listen on Spotify, listen on Apple Podcasts, listen on Google Podcasts, and there are outbound links going to other websites. So as you can see, I have a good amount of inbound and outbound links on my website, and my inbound links do have keywords in them that are going to be relevant to the page I'm leading them to, which is good for Google. Last but not least, number 8 is formatted text. So what do I mean by formatted text, and why should you put keywords in your formatted text? So when I say formatted text, I mean like your bullet points and your numbered list. These are very important. Have you ever Googled something before, and usually the Google search results or the top search results usually has bullet points where you can actually get the information quick, or they're either an FAQ where you can get the question quick, or they're either a numbered list where you can see the steps quickly. That's because they use numbered list on their actual web page, and they use keywords within their numbered list. A good example of this is, say if you have a web page or a blog post and you're talking about you're making like a list, or you're making steps to a recipe or something like that, or even if you have a product and you're listing basically the benefits of a certain product, make sure before you list the bulleted list or the numbered list of that product, right before that you put a keyword as an H2 or H3 header tag, then list your list. If you do it correctly and you optimize all the other keyword places, then if somebody types in Google for a certain keyword you optimize that page for, they can just get your list right away and they'll be happy. I mean, they might not visit your site because you already gave them the answer they needed, but they also might visit your site because you did give them the answer they needed and maybe they want to learn more. So that is it. That is the top 8 places that you need to be placing keywords on each of your web pages so you can start ranking #1 on Google or on the first page of Google. Now, if you want to DIY your own SEO before actually investing into an SEO agency, if you want to start getting more website traffic, ranking #1 on Google, and actually converting that traffic into sales, I have a course specifically for you. And you're going to love my new SEO course called Destination SEO, where you'll learn how to basically set up a strong SEO foundation in order to get your website ranked on the first page of Google in 90 days or less. Yes, I guarantee you, if you follow the instructions in my training, you will have a strong SEO foundation where you will actually get either a product page or your home page or a page on your website at least ranked #1 on Google. Yes, you heard me right. I said guarantee. If you follow the instructions in this training, you will have a strong SEO foundation where you'll be able to get your brand ranked on the first page of Google in 90 days or less. If you're interested in taking that course, I'm going to leave the link below. It is currently $197 to take the course, and I promise you it's more worth the money because everything I share in this course is literally the same process I do for 6-figure brands. And so I compiled it all into about a 2.5-hour training course to teach you how to do the exact same thing if SEO is something you want to DIY yourself because you personally like it or you want to learn more about it. So check out that course down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you love content like this about brand visibility and getting your website found through search, getting your products found through search so you can increase your website traffic, email signups, and website conversions, then definitely follow this account, Nikeia @themarketingprofit on Instagram, because I share so many more informational tips like this about SEO, about Pinterest marketing, about blogging, anything that has to do with visibility to get your brand in the search engines, because that's the #1 places people conduct search. Thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in my next video.